to the very first episode of Beyond Booked. And honestly, this feels like such a full circle moment because nearly 5 years ago, I started my first podcast, and here we are again. I wanted this first episode to be really honest and not polished and just a real story of how I went from corporate to trying to start a business to failing and starting again and burning out and doing all of those things. Because if you're listening right now, there's a good chance that you're somewhere in that journey too. Maybe you're in your 9 to 5. Maybe you've started a side hustle. Maybe you've even signed a few clients. Or maybe you're fully booked out, but you're exhausted in your online business. And my hope is that you hearing my story makes you realize two things. Firstly, you're not behind. And secondly, there is a smarter way to build your business. So let's rewind. I spent years in corporate working in operations and sales, and my job was literally to help companies grow and scale, improving systems, improving performance, increasing revenue, and I was really good at it. And I loved seeing businesses expand and grow. But at the same time, I always had this feeling of, why am I doing this for someone else? I could see how businesses made money. I understood strategy, I understood operations, and I thought, surely I can do this myself. So back in 2019, I literally decided to quit my job. I had no savings, I had no huge plan, and as we all know, it was just before the pandemic hit. Honestly, I feel like I was living off vibes, and I started doing consulting and helping businesses with operations and growth. But I want to be really honest with you at this point. As fun as it was starting to do my own thing, I had no strategy. I had no clear positioning, I had no marketing plan, no client acquisition. And I thought being good at what I did would automatically bring in clients, and it didn't, right? And within about 6 months, I ended up back in a 9 to 5. And that moment was really humbling because leaving corporate felt really brave, and going back to a job actually felt really embarrassing. And I remember thinking, maybe business just isn't for me. Maybe this isn't what I meant to do. But deep down, I knew that wasn't true. I just hadn't learned how to build a business yet. So I went in for a second attempt doing it properly, right? So fast forward to January of 2021, we're a year into the pandemic. I decided I wanted to try again, but this time I'd actually get help. So I hired a coach, and this changed everything. I started learning how to position my skills, how to attract clients, how to package what I knew into something that people would actually pay for. And at the same time, my husband and I had literally just bought a house in the UK where we used to live. We had a mortgage payment, real responsibilities, and I only had about 2 months of mortgage payment saved, which isn't the smartest safety net, but I decided to go all in anyway. I quit my job again and committed to building my own thing. And this time it actually started working. I built a consulting business and started doing career coaching alongside it. Clients were coming in, money was coming in, and on the outside, again, it looked really successful. But what I didn't realize was that even though I'd left my 9 to 5, I hadn't created a business. I had just created another job for myself. A job that wasn't actually paying that well, that kind of had crappy benefits. So from 2021 to 2023, I worked consistently, consulting, coaching, client calls, projects, deliverables. My calendar was packed. And don't get me wrong, the money was good, but my freedom, not so much. And what I had learned was that I was still trading my time for money. If I didn't work, I didn't get paid. And if I wanted to make more money, I needed to work more hours. So essentially, I had just created another job for myself. And the irony at this point was I left my corporate job for freedom. But now I just built another job for myself with more pressure, less stability, no one telling me how amazing I was. And this is where so many business owners get stuck. And having been running my own business for nearly 5 years now, I see so many business owners that they get stuck here, right? They start their business to escape burnout and accidentally they recreate it. Then came another really big turning point where in April of 2024, my husband and I decided to move to Miami. And I made a decision. I made a decision that I was going to start another business, close down my UK business, no longer doing consulting and coaching. And if I was going to do this, I was going to go all in. I fully focused on coaching, helping women leave their 9 to 5s and start businesses. And it worked really quickly. Women were so desperate to actually create something for themselves. So clients came in, referrals came in, demand grew. And in 2024, that became my first six-figure year in my business. It was a huge milestone. But again, my calendar was exploding. One-to-one calls all day, support messages in Voxer and Telegram nonstop, consistent and constant delivery. I built success, but it was not scalable. And I hit a point where I realized this version of success is not sustainable. This version of constantly being on calls is not sustainable. And that's when the biggest lesson hit me. Making money online is not the same as building a company, a brand, or a business. Being booked out isn't the same as having freedom. And if I kept going that way, I was going to burn out. So in 2025, I made a brand new mission. I was going to figure out how to scale my business properly, not just make money, not just get clients, but build something that was actually bigger than my time. So I decided that I needed to create a scalable model. And that's when I created my first group coaching offer called the Freedom Circle. A scalable offer, a group coaching program, a delivery model where clients still get the most incredible results without me needing to be on calls for 500 hours a week. And then everything shifted. Clients still won. My revenue became predictable. My schedule opened up. The business could grow without me just not putting more hours in. And for the first time since starting a business, I actually felt like a CEO business owner, not just a service provider. And that's what brings us here to Wednesday, the 4th of February, when I'm recording this new podcast, because most people know how to start a side hustle. Most people know how to grab their skills and throw something together. But almost nobody teaches you how to build offers that scale, how to actually go from side hustle to booked out, but then go beyond the booked out and actually create an evergreen group coaching program or evergreen offers where you don't have to trade your time for money, where you can build systems and leverage, where you can actually grow a real business. And that is exactly what this podcast is about. I am taking you behind the scenes as I am growing my own company, and I'm going to be bringing some of the most incredible guests on who are also building and growing their own companies in real time. I want to be sharing with you what works, what doesn't, the mistakes that I've made, the wins that we make. So whether you're just starting or signing your first clients or already stuck in this trap of one-to-one, this podcast is going to help you build something bigger, not just income, but freedom and impact and a business that works for you. So if you're sitting there thinking, I don't want just clients, I want a company, you are exactly where you need to be. And in our next episode, I'm going to talk you through something that I see consistently. Why most side hustles accidentally turn into burnout jobs and how to avoid it from the start. Thank you so much for being here and welcome to Beyond Booked, the podcast.